That's why I keep coming back. This is my 10th time to come back as a peer.
Wow.
Well, and I think that, Gary, I hope you hear this in all sincerity. That's why we wanted to ask you these questions for the podcast, because I think it's like it's such a gift that you give here. And I'm like, I know other people want to hear that in terms of your experience and sharing it.
I also think it helps end the stigma too. Like, I think
Mhm.
this is exactly what we need is
Yeah.
for people in your position to be like, open up. It is okay to go get that help. There is not a time limit on this either,
Beautifully put.
right? Like,
Mhm.
you are being open and honest, and we're so grateful that you're on here saying like, I am an older gentleman, and yet I'm making progress still in my life because I've
Mhm.
decided to go open up to someone about what I've been through and what I've seen.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Ashlee, and you know what, Jennifer, you get to say what who we have today.
Well, as always, we have a very special guest with us today, and I'm so excited that he is willing to be here and share. So I'm just going to give it to you. You're going to tell the listeners who you are and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Gary Jarboe. I'm a retired sergeant with the Owensboro, Kentucky Police Department. My background, when I was 18 years old, I joined the Marine Corps in 1969, which was, people would say that's a pretty crazy thing to do in the middle of the Vietnam War, but I enlisted for 4 years and spent 4 years on transport airplanes as flight crew. Before I got out, when I got back from overseas, I married my high school sweetheart, and we've been married this month for 53 years.
Congratulations.
We have two sons and two grown sons and three grandsons who we love to go see.
Karen is outnumbered.
Yes, yes, definitely. In 1980, I was hired by the Owensboro Police Department and spent 21 years there.
Wow.
Retired after I'd had all the fun I could stand and all the fun that they could stand, and worked for another company for 13 years, and we've both been retired completely for the last 10.
Wonderful. I appreciate you sharing that extensive resume, and I want to thank you for your service.
Yes,
It's very important to
absolutely.
say. You know, one thing I really appreciate about you, Gary, is that you're always open about your experience and saying, Ashlee and I are mental health professionals, and saying, where was this 30 years
Yeah.
ago? So can you talk a little bit about the difference of today in terms of just us using the word mental health and the experience of when you were first on the department and your career, and what mental health was like in terms of that experience?
My only experience with any mental health professional until I came to PCIS was an interview I had when I was hired. And it was, I don't know how I can put this delicately,
You don't have to.
but none of us were impressed with the practitioner that we talked to.
I understand. That is delicate.
And throughout my career, we had an employee assistance program like you're required to have.
Mhm.
No one that I know of would have ever called employee assistance because we knew it was a direct line to the chief and or city hall.
Mm.
And we instinctively have a distrust of what we don't understand. And we have all heard horror stories of people's bad experiences with mental health professionals. And that's with any
Of
occupation,
course,
but
of
Yeah.
course.
cops are control freaks. They don't want to give up control to anybody, and you don't bare your soul
Yeah.
to anybody.
Mhm.
And that's a problem for us. And I'll be honest, it was for me and dealing with my family. We don't even talk way too often. We don't talk to our families about things, and
Agreed.
sure not going to talk to some stranger.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
I appreciate you sharing that experience that you had. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. I appreciate you sharing your experience with the military. And I was very honored to get to work with service members and their families. And I do believe that the military is working hard to destigmatize mental health. But being in the Marine Corps, being at war, sometimes I see that experience of veterans that become police officers, that it's so ingrained of you're a soldier, suck it up. I didn't know if that was a reinforcer or that made things different for you.
I really don't know. And I'll have to be honest. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps and I spent a little time in Vietnam, but I only saw the rice paddies from altitude.
Gotcha.
I was flying. I did not spend a year in Vietnam. We would run detachments in country, and I was over there at the end of the Marine Corps' involvement in Vietnam. So I wasn't even in there the entire time. But you go to Paris Island in 1969,
Mm,
they tell you you're only there for one thing.
yeah.
And, they told us we were all going to Vietnam, which at that stage of the war, I understand very few of the people I went to boot camp with actually went in country.
Mhm.
But it's the attitude that they teach you.
Yeah.
And it's the hard-headed attitude. And I'll be honest with you, that hard-headed attitude actually probably saved me
Oh, absolutely.
many years later when I was hit by a car
Mm.
and I was off work 2 years. And my wife has told people that he probably couldn't have come back if he hadn't gotten hard-headed at Paris Island
Wow.
because I wasn't going to stay down.
That sounds like a Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
hard at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I hear you talking about that too, like I can't help but think like how much of that do you think translated to your home life? Like
Way
that
too much.
way too much. Yeah. So it's hard, right? It's hard to get in that mindset and then just change it. I don't even know if that's possible for a lot of our first responders or for people who like you, like a Marine, right? Like
Yeah.
and but yet it's so beneficial on one side because we like you just said, like hard-headed and you got through something so big in your life and then yet it can be very impactful on the other side of things too. Did you start to notice that at all? It kind of going deep here with your family, but like how that translated to your family a little bit?
Not until later.
Yeah.
You don't show vulnerability.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can't be vulnerable. You've got to walk into the bar fight.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
don't necessarily walk in by yourself, but I mean, you wait in the middle of it. And when I was a rookie police officer, I always had this thing in my mind that, how will I react when I get to my first fight?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I was a little skinny guy. I've gained the number of pounds now, but yeah, I was a pretty thin guy.
Mm.
Barely met the minimum weight limits to get into the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
And until I had my first knockdown drag out on the street, I had that doubt in my mind.
Mm.
And it happened to be with my training officer several months after I'd gotten out by myself. And he made the comment that you done good, rookie. And that was what I needed.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I did the rest of the time I was in.
Yeah.
But yet you don't have that vulnerability. And I didn't tell a lot of things at home because I didn't want to burden her.
Mhm.
And she had never been exposed to the kind of life that I was seeing every day. I mean, at her family, there was no violence, there was no alcoholism. I mean, that she'd never seen domestic violence, and she used to say that she had heard all the stories, but what she heard was the stories that we would joke about when we get together.
The PG stories.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she didn't hear about the really bad ones, the ones where I was scared half to death, and because you just don't burden your family with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's that thing that is such a tightrope to walk, because I think it is, I love my family. I would not want
Yeah.
to burden them. I don't want to upset them. I want to, I'm protecting all these people in my community.
Mhm.
Of course I want to protect
Yeah.
my family. And yet that sometimes can be a misstep,
Oh, we paid a price for it.
really.
And I've said, when I come to the PCIS, that where was this 35 years ago?
I
It would have
really
been a whole lot
appreciate you
easier
saying
on my whole family and on me had I been able to do what I've done since I've been here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you feel like your connection then to your wife has grown stronger?
Oh, definitely.
I love
Definitely.
that.
And after we came here, we talked about things and she heard about things that she had never heard about in all the years since I got on the department.
Yeah.
And even other things that we have better communication now than we had before.
Mm.
And I'm going to take a second here to tell our listeners a little bit, like we won't go into details about the title or anything of the program, but it is a mental health program that we met Gary at, that they get to come and it's for first responders and they get to come and talk about some of these intense critical incidences that they've been through, and honestly open up and get the help from mental health professionals and peers who have been through it as well, and get to talk with their families. Wives are included, spouses of any kind are included. And so I just want to put it out there because we're referencing it so much of like, I mean, I think what's really powerful is that you were retired and decided to
Yeah,
do
I've been
this.
retired 21 years before I came.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because it didn't exist at all while I was
Right.
working.
Right. Like the mental health world didn't. But is it okay if I ask, and if this is too much, let us know, like what made you decide finally to say, hey, I got stuff I got to work on and I'm going to go do that even after the career?
Well, a couple of friends of mine that I had worked with and had retired and got back into it, just in conversation told me about PCIS.
Mm,
I'd never heard of it until a little over 2 years ago.
yeah.
And they were telling me about it, and they both were raving about it. Said it's great. You need to go.
Yeah.
So I did a little research and looked at it. I looked online. I thought I knew I had some demons hanging around,
Yeah.
and I sat down with Karen and I said, "Would you go to this with me?" And she said, "Yeah." So got online and got myself into it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, on Monday, I was trying to figure out a way that I could run.
Understandably.
Run. Yep.
And on Wednesday, driving home, I was saying, where was this 35 years ago?
Wow. You know, I hate to say this, but I think you're a little bit of an outlier to know that you've been retired. Ashlee and I talk a lot about the impact of the career, and then retirement can be a really dangerous place sometimes
Mhm.
for officers. Do you care to share a little bit like what helps? I mean, you said, I had these demons and being open, but unfortunately, people that retire from a first responder career, that can be some hard times. And if you can share a little bit,
Mhm.
like what was helpful for you in terms of, or what has been helpful for you in terms of retirement.
Well, I came in here with one thing that had bothered me and had bothered me for years. And I talked about it when I was here. And then I realized that that was just one of many.
Mhm.
I have had, I've lost count, 6, 7 follow-up sessions
Yeah.
with an MHP since then. I call Hannah my savior, but and some of it goes back to my childhood. But there were things that had really bothered me. I spent 5 years, about 90% of my time was spent investigating sexual abuse of children,
Mm.
and that stuff wears on you.
Absolutely.
And some of the other things that I was in, and I had the some guilt because of I was in the Marine Corps. I went to Vietnam. There were times that I was hesitant to even say that I was a Vietnam vet because I wasn't in the rice paddy. I wasn't out there, and there's a whole dynamic in that too, and that's not unusual.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
There's something I read several months ago, and I sent it to a friend of mine that had even more issues with that than I did. And one of the first lines is, if you've been deployed 10 times, you think you should have done more.
Mhm.
Or if you deployed once, you think you should have done more. So no matter what we do,
It's not
the
enough.
idea is that we did what we were told to do while we were there, and that's what our service was supposed to be. But it's I'm 73 years old, and I've got a lot of crap baggage that I'm carrying
Mhm.
from a lot of different things.
Mhm.
But this has been, if somebody had told me when I came here, that I was actually going to sit down with a mental health professional, yes.
No, thank you.
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the same response I have gotten. And I've kind of made it my mission to talk to retirees that I know to try to get them to come. We don't talk about that. And I sure don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're a hard nut to crack.
Well, understandably, and I don't think that there's anything scarier than being vulnerable.
Oh, especially for control freaks like we are.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And there's a lot more comfortability walking into a bar fight than there is walking
Yeah,
into a
right.
therapist's office for sure. for
Because
sure.
I at least have a clue what's going to happen in the bar fight. First time I sat down with a mental health professional, I had no clue.
We're pretty scared.
I was just about to
But
say.
yeah, you are. You frighten me all to death.
Never.
Married 53 years. That's incredible. And again, just,
She's an angel.
well, I already know that. But any secrets, any advice that you can give to people in terms of
Oh,
what it takes to be married for 53 years, besides the fact that your wife has to be an angel?
well, and it's even, and you to put it in terms that I use, my wife married a Marine who became a cop. So she has put up with so much.
Yeah.
And neither one of us are perfect. We've had our bad times.
I don't know. I've met her. She might be perfect.
Well, she's
Yes, I mean, her birthday is my
she's pretty
birthday.
close to perfect, but
Perfection.
I
But we don't live with
we
her. I
won't,
get
yeah,
it.
I won't tell any stories, but it's the commitment that, and I read something online the other day, and online it has to be true. Uh, the thing was, somebody asks a woman that had been married for 60 years what her secret was. And she said, we come from a generation that when something is broken or not working right, you don't throw it away, you
Mhm.
fix it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I thought that was a pretty powerful statement.
Oh, absolutely. It is important to work through things. And I have seen relationships that work through that brokenness, and man, they're even stronger because of it
Yeah.
instead of walking away. Mm-hmm.
And there were times that, especially with on the department, that I was certainly not the easiest guy to live with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had issues and didn't know how to handle them, but you know, didn't work them out perfectly, but worked them out, and we've stayed together, and we're better now than we were a few years ago.
Wow. That's
Well,
incredible.
and I mean, I see that happen in relationship and with family dynamics is when you are in this situation, you kind of withdraw even more. And I've always referenced families as this cogs in a watch, and they all kind of have to fit in order for the
Yeah.
watch for the family to work. And when somebody withdraws more and more, it's hard for those cogs of a family to function. And I think it says a lot that, recognizing that and saying like, but we're going to still keep time,
Mm.
we're still going to figure out that. I definitely want to be respectful of your boys, but I also think that they have big professions and
Yeah.
have worked really hard. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what it's like being a dad and being an officer.
It was I always worried, and I was talking to somebody last night that we never really sat down and talked about that dad was going to work and that something might happen to him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to bring that up. They definitely saw me put on a gun and a vest
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
They saw me with a black eye for 6 weeks one time,
Mhm.
a broken hand. They have gotten up in the morning, and back in these days before bloodborne pathogens, you had a bloody uniform shirt, you put it in ice water.
Mm.
Well, they've gotten up, and there's in the kitchen sink is a bloody uniform
Wow.
shirt
Yeah.
and ice water, because I came home, wasn't my blood, but I came home and
Right.
changed uniform shirts
Yeah.
and went back to work. And I get it, it was avoidance. I didn't
Mm.
know what to say, so I didn't say anything.
Yeah. Ooh, that's
After
powerful right
It
there.
really
That was
is.
powerful.
It really is.
after I decided that we were coming, we were on vacation together, and I got the boys and took them off. We just sat down and talked, apologized for the way I had been, because I know I was an asshole at times, probably a lot of times. They weren't concerned. They said I wasn't as bad as I seemed to think I was,
Hmm.
Okay.
which made me feel better.
Yeah, of course. Sounds like they love you a lot when that's what happens when we love our family members. There's grace and
And
understanding.
I think that speaks to what we even do on this podcast, right? Is like, I'm very open about some of the struggles that I've had with my own dad. And, you know what I mean? Like Jennifer is too. And yet we love them
Mhm.
more than like like my dad hung the moon. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
feel so like
Yeah.
that speaks volumes to that, because I do think there's truth to a lot of first responder children. We can look at our parent who is a first responder and be like, man, they are rough, or they are strict, or they are assholes. I've said that in my head before too, right? Like, and at the same time know that that love is still very much so there. Like, I do think we have a unique way of doing that as children of first responders, and that just speaks so much volume of like, yeah, like you weren't as bad as you think
Mm.
you were, and we do love you.
Well, and I think the other piece of that, Gary, I just want to applaud you for you taking the steps to say, I
Oh,
mean, what a gift that you gave your boys, even if it was, a couple years down the road, to say, I was a human being and
I'm sorry.
like,
Those words, I say that all the time. I say that with my first responders. Police should, like, what is the harm in owning it? Like,
Yeah.
but a lot of my first responders struggle with that. And there's so much, again, power in the words, I'm sorry.
mhm. Yeah.
And and I look back at the way I was, I didn't know any other way to be. And I have said that I've had jobs where I didn't just have a job, I became something.
Mhm.
I will always be a Marine, I will always be a cop.
Yes.
Won't you?
And that's the truth. And so many of us just immerse ourselves so much in the job.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And from it's not a small town, but it's not a big city. And within 2 years, every punk in town knows who you are because they've seen you in court or
Of
you've locked
course.
them up. So, when you're just in town going out to eat or going to the mall, and well, I locked that SOB up, and
Mhm.
well, I had to knock down that drag-on fight with him, and he just beat his wife last week.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
it's you see that, and you're always looking over your shoulder, and my wife is with me, and
I don't know if this resonates with you at all, but you talk about going to Paris Island,
mhm.
and I think to be a police officer, you got to go to the academy. You get to take these courses and do these trainings, and yet they don't have any of that for parenting, do they?
Hope no.
And so I think that's why we can identify more as our career sometimes than being a parent. I mean, we read the books, and this is a saying that I'm totally stealing from my dad. And when I became a parent, I'm like, oh gosh, why is this so true? But he says, you can read all the books, you can take all the classes, and when you become a parent, you just pray
Yeah.
because that's
Love that.
all you kind of got. And it's so true. And then to your point, like it's what we know, we don't know
Yeah.
and stuff. And you have two kids and sometimes
Yeah.
two kids need different things,
Oh, and yeah, my two boys are so different.
Isn't that
Mhm.
wild?
It is.
Have the same
I'm
parents.
saying.
Well, one of my sons has two boys, and they're about between 4 and 5 years apart, and they are just so different. Like my
Yeah,
two,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What's the age difference between your boys?
5 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So what I want to be like mindful of our time too, but what would you have any advice that you would want to give to these younger generations coming through career?
Don't hold back like I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any dispatcher or officer that has actually worked for 5 years probably has enough baggage that they need to come to a program like this one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do think it's beautiful seeing people say, I'm trying to make sure my bucket doesn't get full.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a younger generation thing. Like it doesn't have to spill all over the floor in order for me to maybe try to
And
keep house a little bit.
some of these people come into this program, they weren't born when I started my career. And that's difficult for me. And well, and the only peer that comes to this that's older than me is your dad. We're the OGs when we had this. In fact, I asked some people, I said, am I even relevant anymore because of that? And I have been assured that I am. But
Mhm.
I look at these, they're not kids, but I'm old enough to be their grandfather, some of them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta make this clear for my dad. He's young on the inside. So just because, the outside says different, he's young on the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not slowed down from what I've
No,
seen of
he
him.
definitely hasn't. He definitely hasn't. But I think that there's power in saying, where was this 30 years ago?
Yeah.
And taking from that, what can we do different? And then the other part of it, I do think it's powerful to say, I'm hard-headed. Like that actually is a gift. That's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. We would say that's determined. And
Mhm.
being determined is a really powerful thing. So I just want to applaud that. And I don't know. I think part of this is like, well, I want to give what I wasn't given.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
like
That's why I keep coming back. This is my
Mhm.
10th time to come back as a peer.
Wow.
Well, and I think that, Gary, I hope you hear this in all sincerity. That's why we wanted to ask you these questions for the podcast, because I think it's like, it's such a gift that you give here. And I'm like, I know other people want to hear that in terms of your experience and sharing it.
I also think it helps end the stigma too. Like, I think
Mhm.
this is exactly what we need is
Yeah.
for people in your position to be like, open up. It is okay to go get that help. There is not a time limit on this either,
Beautifully put.
right? Like,
Mhm.
you are being open and honest, and we're so grateful that you're on here saying like, I am an older gentleman, and yet I'm making progress still in my life because I've
Mhm.
decided to go open up to someone about what I've been through and what I've seen.
The fear is, and we have, and I know as in the field, you have heard this, but finding the right
Yes.
provider. I
And
mean,
Ashley and I have tried to talk about that too.
Yeah.
And I hate this, but it's true. Like,
is
I
true.
think that finding a good therapist is probably harder than dating.
well,
No.
yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about that, but you know, finding somebody who is used to dealing with first responders.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just to get in the phone book and find a therapist or a counselor.
Mhm.
No, that's a crapshoot.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I was so thankful for this program, because everyone here is trained and dealing with first responders. So many of you all restrict your practice to just first responders and their families. So you can relate to us. And you two in particular, being the children of police officers,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
but we've all heard the horror stories.
Haven't we?
And that's the horror stories scare everybody off.
Well, and I think what I always say is when I have somebody come to meet with me who's met with and sometimes it's not even a horrible experience with
Yeah.
another provider. It was just like it just didn't feel right. It
Yeah.
just didn't feel like a
Right.
fit. And I always think it's amazing when they give it another try because it's an easy write-off to say, well, that person's
good
stunk, and so they're all like that, and I'm never going to try again. And sometimes we can use that as a cop out instead
Yeah.
of. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for being our number one fan. He is, and we love him.
Yeah.
We love him. So it's an honor to have you on and to share your story, and hopefully have you back on soon too to talk about a few things. I think we could continuously pick
Yeah.
your brain.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and my wife and I listen to you every time we do it together when we're on the road.
I love that.
When I get on
The road.
Shout out to Candy.
well, we do travel quite a bit.
Well, tell us, would you be comfortable sharing what you're going to be celebrating in November?
The 10th of November is the 250th Marine Corps birthday.
Happy birthday.
And the Marine Corps birthday is a national holiday for those people that don't know.
Like,
When we got married and moved into base housing at Cherry Point, North Carolina, we became friends with two other couples. One of the couples was a newlywed couple like us. They were married like a month after we were. The other couple were married before he went overseas, and actually we spent the same months overseas, but we were no kids in base housing, 20 miles from the beach. We got to be good friends and have kept in contact.
Wow.
And since we are all retired now, we've been able to get together more often, and we are going to Branson, Missouri, the most veteran-friendly town I know of. And the six of us are going to celebrate the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps.
happy birthday.
Let's
Yes.
do it. That sounds
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
incredible.
That's awesome. Well, and so on the road, you'll get to listen to us,
Yes.
and we always appreciate that. So, Ashley,
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for being on today. And just to all of our listeners, never forget that when the call hits home, Jennifer and I are here for you.
thank you.